For those of you who haven't yet met Kristen Clifford, this is a great opportunity for us to really get to know the leadership that is coming into UMDF. And Kristen, I just want to start by saying a warm thank you. You have made all of us as a community feel so welcome here at your conference this week. And last night was a perfect example of that. So a round of applause for our new leader, Kristen Clifford. Kristen's got a phenomenal background that we're going to get to know a little bit more. Most recently coming out of the Alzheimer's Association, where she was the chief programming officer, helped lead access to programming for that entire patient community on a much broader level, oversaw education programs, really the connection among human beings affected by, and how do we really build on that? So I think we have a lot we're going to be able to learn from her. And prior to that, she was vice president of healthcare access at the MS Society. So this is something that is deeply ingrained in her entire career in nonprofit leadership. And I'm really optimistic about the opportunities to continue to learn and to grow together with UMDF. And so, Kristen, welcome. Maybe I'll start by just saying, hey, this is your first MitoMed conference. Coming off of a high yesterday. You want to recap for everybody what was happening in the next room over and even maybe where things ended yesterday?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you so much for carving the time out. I know the time together is so precious, so taking a few minutes for me this morning means so much to me. I'm deeply grateful. I've had the chance to meet many of you, not all of you yet in this room, and it's an unbelievable community. So much warmth and generosity as I learn and listen and get to know everyone. And so thank you so much. And if I haven't met you, please, any chance to introduce myself, or please feel free to come up anytime. It's been really wonderful. Yesterday was great. As Chris said, I'm still kind of riding on adrenaline. I don't drink caffeine, so I'm just going to keep it going with adrenaline as long as I can. Yesterday was wonderful for me. Again, learning so much, being able to meet with the community, hearing really exciting science updates, and just the hopefulness of being together. It's such an emotional week. And so last night it was really wonderful to be able to just have a little fun and celebrate and thank our volunteers. We really tried to have a fun environment for our banquet this year. It was themed around kind of a carnival, meet me in St. Louis. And we really wanted to use it as a moment to celebrate and have gratitude for being together and for all of the amazing work that our advocates do. And on that note, I really want to highlight a very special person who received our Stanley Davis Leadership Award last night at banquet, Mr. Paul Laurie.
Woohoo! Thanks, Kristen.
So Paul's an unbelievable example of what a fierce and compassionate advocate looks like for both the LHON community and the mitochondrial disease community as a whole. It was amazing to be able to honor and recognize Paul. He has been such a tireless advocate and just a compassionate member of both communities, and really helping to raise the LHON voice within the mitochondrial disease space. He's someone that I know we all turn to regularly, and we're just so grateful for everything that you do for the community. So it was wonderful. So for those of you that were not there last night, I wanted to make sure that we can all congratulate Paul and just thank him for his work.
Thanks again, Kristen.
And Paul, I want you to know that UMDF is not the only group that recognizes and values you. Your LHON community very much appreciates you and all you do for us. Just a few highlights include you're a founding co-leader of the group that started just for California, grew to the Southwest, and has now grown to include the entire US region, providing valuable support and information. You're our group's expert on Charles Bonnet syndrome, helping those in our community and beyond to understand and live well with it. You're a key member of our science team, consistently contributing thoughtful insights and perspectives on various articles. You've been an exhibitor at NANOS, helping neuro-ophthalmologists better understand the LHON patient experience. You're on our Vision Consortium team, where we collaborate with other rare eye disease organizations. You've been a member of this 2025 LHON Conference Committee that made this event happen. And you've just been a key supporter of the crossover between LHON and mitochondrial disease in general, as one of several offering information to those with non-vision symptoms and our liaison to UMDF. And it's because you play a significant role both here with your LHON community and with the broader mito community that you'll be leaving a little bit early, so you can get to a session that you helped create with UMDF that begins upstairs at 10:30, for which you're a key panel member. And it's this hard thing about trying to be in two places at one time that I know was a struggle for you last night, because I know you wanted to be both at the banquet and at the baseball game. And you were in both, one physically and one in spirit. If anyone can see the photo over there, the gang at the baseball game thinks of you. And as you think of the night, I know you had me checking the score for you during the game. So you have a you have a plaque from UMDF, and you have a Cardinals t-shirt to remember the night by.
I love it. Paul, so fun to watch you be celebrated up there last night, and I know this is an important part of your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think it's important for the community to know that the opportunities that the UMDF has provided to me really has helped me like improve my peer-to-peer support skills that, you know, through training opportunities from the UMDF. I have been given access to clinicians and researchers and industry partners that I would not have probably been able to access. And that has just made me more educated on mitochondrial, you know, disorders. And I think that's a benefit to the LHON community. And I will continue to advocate in really impactful and meaningful spaces for the LHON patients and families, and really the broader mito patient and family communities.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna let Paul enjoy the glow, and we're gonna move back to Kristen for a few minutes
Yeah.
here. So Kristen, just maybe if you get an observation of what you walked into this morning. This is a community that is based on people connecting with one another and families connecting with one another. Would you just describe a little of your family?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I will say I shared with Chris when I walked in this morning. I had said to Chris, I'll find you when I come in. And then when I came in, he said, I was just texting you. I said, oh, I've been in the room for half an hour, but everyone just keeps approaching me to say hello and introduce themselves, and just such a warm and welcoming group. I am a born and raised New Yorker. I've lived in Austin, Texas for 17 years, where I met my New Englander husband, and we're raising 3 kids in a blended family. We have 2 adopted children and 1 biological. So they're all teenagers. So 3 teenage girls, please think of me. We're very, very fortunate. We live in a wonderful community. We really enjoy live music and the vibrancy of the city, but it's also a very strong community for service and giving. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities for families, even young kids there, that we've been able to be a part of since our kids were little, and it's been wonderful to live in a community of service and be able to extend that not just in my professional life, but personal life as well.
You know, often in the business world, we talk about leadership comes in lots of different shapes and sizes, and there's a term of servant leadership. Kristen, you embody that, and I'm really, I think we're all very encouraged by having that servant leadership mindset and that learning-based approach coming into this. So I also know part of that is ingrained in the family, and you were telling me your daughter is going to come and join a UMDF conference next year, right?
Yeah, she's very excited.
That's awesome. All right, so we're in the first few months of you stepping into leading UMDF, an organization that obviously goes back a number of decades. Why don't you just share some initial observations?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very complex time, as I think everyone in this room knows. So UMDF will be celebrating its 30th anniversary next year, started by a family who received a terrible diagnosis and was looking for support and community and driving research, as so many of our groups are. We've come a long way in a lot of ways, but also in some ways have been stagnant. And it's a very interesting environment. I think we all see so much opportunity from a research and innovation perspective. If you look at where we were a decade ago compared to where we are now, so much progress in terms of clinical trials, in terms of some better awareness of mitochondrial diseases within the science community, but also a very constrained funding environment right now, a very complex environment for medical research. We see our academic centers really struggling to think about sustainability as they move forward. And we also have challenges in the US healthcare system, and knowing that more changes are coming to Medicaid and other areas that will affect our community. So we're at this really interesting time of both a lot of opportunity and a lot of complexity with the challenges that we face at a systemic level. So my observations at UMDF are, I think we have an amazing group of very driven researchers, clinicians, advocates. I think we have a very powerful community. We have a lot of uniqueness. There's over 300 mitochondrial diseases. A lot of those diseases are very complex and unique from each other. And so how do we as an organization really help to drive innovation towards treatment and cures that can benefit the greater community? How can we provide services and support that meet the needs of all those unique communities? And how can we collaborate in a way that does not duplicate effort, that helps us really leverage resource to the best of our ability and work together? The power of collaboration in the rare disease space is absolutely critical. And so how can we do that better than we've been doing? And a lot of that for me as being new in this space has been just learning and listening and really understanding what the current needs are of the communities. And I really want to thank the LHON leadership, Chris and Lissa, Paul, John, Melinda, everyone who has taken so much time to help me really learn and understand. And that will continue, but I think that really helps us to shape the future. So we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of urgency. And the way that we have been driving our revenue and our fundraising has been pretty consistent, but not really growing over the years, while opportunity has grown and expense has grown. So we have the need, and I feel a real sense of urgency to do some of that work differently so that we can take advantages of the opportunities we currently have, because I think 10 years from now, we could be in a very different space, which is exciting.
Just walking through even your poster sessions the last couple of days and hearing some of the emerging science and where technology is helping to advance this like never before.
Absolutely.
With speed. I share your optimism in terms of where we can go, but also that need that you're underscoring. Another big theme we talked about yesterday is that rare is not so rare. When you start to put these ends together, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that there's a number of ways we can kind of unpack that as we go forward. So I'll transition to a little bit of that. But I just want for all of you to hear one key word that she mentioned there. And this is something that I think Kristen's really bringing into the broader organization is this sense of urgency. I know we all feel it. I know we're all living it. But how do we make sure that these aren't just science projects, that we're actually advancing things with urgency and a real understanding of what the lived experience of patient communities are, that we can kind of move forward. The urgency kind of dovetails nicely into a little bit of that strategic planning. You want to kind of outline after your 30, 60, 90-day launch into this, you have a little bit of a roadmap ahead. You want to share what lies ahead for the next 6 to 12 months?
Absolutely. So very quickly you realize that UMDF is in critical need of a new strategic plan. It's been quite a few years since one was developed. Our space has changed greatly in that time. And so we did officially launch this week with our board, and we'll be launching with the greater community a full new strategic planning process this summer. So by the end of this calendar year, we will have a new roadmap, an updated mission and vision. We'll be answering some really key questions about our community in terms of our collaboration model with some of our other patient advocacy groups, thinking about mitochondrial disease versus dysfunction and health, primary versus secondary, what are our roles in all of that, a roadmap for how we approach science and collaboration. So some really important questions that we're going to answer. I'm very excited by the end of this year to have an updated plan and path forward that will help us really be focused, mission critically focused in what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. And everyone's voices are really critical in this. So this is not something that I'm just building on my own. We need to build it together as a community. So there will be a lot of opportunity for everyone's voices to be a part of that. We'll have surveys going out to all of our groups, all of our stakeholders. We'll have listening sessions. We're doing interviews with different groups. So really trying to bring in as many voices as we can throughout the process so that at the end, everyone feels like their voices were heard and we're all kind of empowered to be in this together. So I'm very excited to share this with the LHON community, the LHON Plus community, and really get feedback and hear from you all on how we're going to be focusing our efforts moving forward. But I think it's an exciting step forward. The first step that we took this week with some of our stakeholders was just thinking about 10 years from now. What could that look like? Really thinking bigger and bolder, putting aside some of the barriers that we know exist today, but where could we be? And then how do we get there over time? And it was really exciting just to hear from voices in the science world and the clinical world, from some of our patient families around where we could be and what this could look like. Your community and LHON and LHON Plus are a huge part of this, and I want to make sure that you're not just integrated, but that you really are a comprehensive part of our plan moving forward, and all of our communities feel that way. So it's complex, but I think as long as everyone feels like they have opportunity to share voice, it's definitely possible, and I'm really excited to be at this moment and for us to have clarity moving forward and be able to share that with our partners in a very transparent way.
Well, I think we all acknowledge the importance of that you're underscoring, but also thank you for inviting our input into
course.
that process. Um, Maybe just give us a little context. We're one of how many hundred mitochondrial diseases that you are representing? How do you think about sort of an umbrella organization versus individual communities that can kind of come together in some ways that you're describing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's over 300 mitochondrial diseases, so very complex. And there's a lot of different patient advocacy groups, and there's a lot of different disease community groups. And I absolutely understand the need to have that kind of specificity. And some groups are very singularly focused on driving research in a very specific area. There's so much to do, and I am somebody who absolutely believes in the power of collaboration. Even before I was working in the rare disease space, we're stronger together. We drive further and faster together, and I absolutely have seen that play out. But I think specifically in this space, where awareness is not the same as Alzheimer's or cancer or some of the other disease spaces I've worked in, there's so much power to be able to join forces and find out where are those points of alignment where we can collaborate and leverage resource together. How do we ensure that we're not duplicating those very precious resources? How do we share information and learnings and innovation with each other? And then there's some things that, there's some groups might just have highest and best use. They have skills and strength in an area, and that's great. How else can we support? So, some of these other singular disease organizations, they might just be focused on advocacy or might just be focused on research. And I want to make sure we're supporting them as much as we can. So what are the areas that you're not focused on that we can support the community? Where can we learn from each other? We can't all be great at everything. We can't be everything to everyone. So what is our highest and best use, and what's our greatest area of impact that we can possibly have? And that's where I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I've been so encouraged by the conversations we've been having about kind of the roadmap of opportunity that the LHON community is progressing on, and how can we support that? So I think I see a lot of bright future ahead. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of challenges for us. There certainly are, but I think having really clear path forward in terms of what is the impact we're trying to drive for, and how can we measure that and share that. I think one of the other things that UMDF has challenged with in the past is doing some good work, leading in some areas, but then not always sharing back to the community. What are the results? What happened when we put these things together, when we joined the science community? What was the end result? What did we learn? What worked well? What didn't? So being better at communicating that externally and with our communities, I think can only help us.
Yeah, agree. Maybe a minute on what to expect next year. We talked a little bit about the next 2 years and a little bit of a plan as it relates to conferences. We know things are going to be a little different down in Orlando. Frankly, I think that was a decision that was made prior to Kristen coming into her role. So I want to give you just an opportunity, maybe just describe what you are envisioning
Yeah,
after walking
yeah.
away from this week so far, and
Yeah.
what you think for Orlando that we should all know.
Yeah, I'll be totally transparent. So I don't know exactly what the future of conference will look like overall. It's definitely an amazing impact point for our stakeholders, our families, our clinicians, our researchers to come together, and there's so much value in that. Um, but the sustainability of our conference, we have to address. So the decisions for next year, the hotel, all of that was done before I joined UMDF in January. Beyond that, we have not made plans for 2027 beyond. And so after this conference, we'll come back together with the group to really think about how we can resource and create a more sustainable plan for conference for the future. For us, again, transparently, expenses and cost of conference have risen over the years, and UMDF has struggled to kind of find the balance to figure out how to resource this. So we want to make this happen for our families. I think we just need to give some thought around the continued shape of what that can look like and how we can make it accessible for everyone in the community. So, I wish I'd been here sooner to try to do some of that planning with the group, but absolutely, I'm really hoping to see so many of your faces next year. We'll try to make it as absolutely inclusive as we can. We have a little bit of a smaller space, but we're going to really think about how we can have some different tracks for some of our different disease communities as much as we can. Invite your feedback and input, and really hope to see some of you there. And I'm hoping in the future and future years, we can still find other ways to ensure that we have appropriate education and support and resources and connection with however our conference ends up progressing, and then this amazing meeting. I hope to still always have a presence at whatever meetings and conferences your community is having, and absolutely want to integrate that. So more to come. I wish I could share more tangible on what will happen in future years, but we will be together in Orlando the same week, June 15th to 20th next year. I'm hoping we can do some extra special things in Orlando for families, just because it is so much resource and effort to be able to come to a meeting. and there's so much to do for families there. So we'll see what that looks like, but I'm hoping we can put some special touches in there. And I hope to see many of you there, and we'll absolutely work with the community to make sure that we have integrated support and education there, and you still feel seen and heard and really a part of the meeting.
Well, I love the intentionality with which you even led through yesterday. And Lissa, I feel like I'm dominating all the questions here, but there was a special moment as we opened up the banquet last night. You want to share?
Oh, sure.
For the blind and visually impaired community to kind of have a little moment there.
Yeah, no, for many of you who've been to Banquet before, you might recall that the feedback y'all have given us has been that maybe it was tough to feel included at the banquet because from a vision impaired point of view, it just didn't feel included. And I assure you that Maria and Jessica have communicated clearly year after year that that was something that was really important to our community. And I would say that we repeated that when Kristen asked, what do we look for? And Chris and I were sitting next to each other, and Kristen opened the meeting by offering a visual description of how the setting was and what it looked like. And I was just so grateful to you for asking how to make it inclusive and implementing and executing. And it seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing. And I appreciate the inclusion and being thoughtful. So thank you.
Yeah, agreed. So Kristen, I think maybe I'll give you the closing thought, but I want to tell you how optimistic you make us about where we could grow together. You've come in so quickly, really defining yourself and the leadership from a point of view of listening, observing what's working, what's not, what could be optimized, and maybe even explicitly offering some ideas and insights and sharing. But it's this amazing balance of IQ and EQ that I think you bring to the table here that really leaves us super encouraged. So a round of applause for Kristen Clifford.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Any closing thoughts that you'd like to offer?
Yeah, thank you. You're so kind. Thank you so much again. And for last night, I thank you. I've asked for input. I'm learning, and without being transparent and being able to share, even though you provided that feedback in the past, we can't do better. So I am listening. I'm learning. At any time, anyone in this room, please feel free to reach out to me directly and share with me where there's gaps, where you see opportunities. If something hasn't worked in the past, and please give me the opportunity to try to work with you. I want to earn your trust and walk alongside you. I think this is an amazing community, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it. So thank you so much for carving the time out for me, and looking forward to getting to know you all better.
Thanks for carving the time out for us.
Thank you.